Hello everyone, I hope all of you are doing great, and this video again is for those candidates who are preparing for UPSC Civil Services Personality Test, which is going to be conducted from January 30, and also it is for those who are interested to know the whole interview process, what needs to be done to prepare if you are somebody who is preparing for 23-24 attempt and looking for how to improve yourself to give better interview. You can also watch this particular video. In this video, I'm going to talk about three broad suggestions, advices, tips, which will be useful if you inculcate, if you apply them in your interview and interview preparation. The first tip I would like to give is whenever you walk into the interview hall, walk without any expectations and especially without any assumptions. So what happens if you are already in a service, you will have certain expectations of your own that the questions will be tough and there will be more questions on your service. And if you come with a strong academic background and a very dense DAF with so many details in your DAF, detailed application form, you might have more expectations that you will be thinking that the board will have more expectations from you, right? So but my suggestion, you should walk in without any expectation, like a empty with a blank mind, and try to rely more on your own innate ability to think on the spot, strong presence of mind, the alertness of mind. So these are the qualities that will naturally play when they are not burdened by any kind of assumptions and expectations. As you know, every kind of assumption, expectation will lead to suffering, some kind of sadness, some kind of negative outcome. Now know that this whole interview process is an uncertain process. When uncertainty is the rule, you cannot really walk in with any expectation, any assumption, because that is totally useless and futile. The second point or second tip that I would like to give you is that sometimes what happens while in the course of the interview, many people have this assumption that they have to answer each and every question in the interview. So that compulsion to answer every question is detrimental in real interview, because it doesn't allow you to be honest. It doesn't allow you to be yourself. The fundamental quality that is tested is intellectual integrity, that is honesty in your knowledge, in your responses. When you don't know something, feel free to say, I really don't know. You can say that. We can use various phrases. Sorry sir, I am not able to recall right now. Sorry sir, I have forgotten that particular thing. Sorry sir, I am not able to guess correctly. I don't know about it. I haven't read about it. Something like this. Depending on the context of the question, depending on the nature of the question, depending upon the situation, you can use phrases accordingly, but try to make it conversational. When you treat a question as a merely question, not as a part of the conversation, you will come under the compulsion to reply in a monotonous, in a mechanical tone, where you are not focusing on engaging them. You are just focusing on trying to recollect a fact, example, maybe an idea, and just to give it out and wait for another question. So this should not happen. Your answer should lead to another related follow-up question, which will result in healthy conversation in the room. And then another quality which is related to the first and second point is the during the preparation, work on the strong presence of mind, because anyway the questions are going to be uncertain. You cannot really predict the nature of the question. Some of them might get repeated because the situation is uncertain. During the course of the preparation, you should work on the presence of mind. So this presence of mind will improve when you give time to yourself, away from gadgets, away from social media, for at least 1 or 2 hours in a day, where you invest your time in thinking about yourself, about what you have done, about the things you have read, about things you have written, about things you have achieved, about everything that you have done. If you keep thinking about them, the presence of mind will improve. And also you should take up abstract questions. For example, today I was asking questions like, how does culture influence law, and how does law influence culture? I was asking a question, how does a culture of a city will influence the development of a city? So these are sudden questions which uh, might not be expected from the panel, from a candidate, but they will force them to think. So when you are not able to really, another question I asked was, how does economics influence law? Uh, if you can write an entire essay on these kind of topics, it is not that difficult, but to think immediately in the moment of that pressure in the interview is very difficult. But if you think of these questions beforehand, show strong presence of mind and strong common sense, so you will be able to come up with these answers. Now, to come up with the answer to these abstract questions, you have to divide these questions into parts. For example, if I ask about how does culture of a city influence its development, so now the development can be divided into the human development aspect, like quality of life of the citizens, the people in the city, and it can be divided into the infrastructure, the tourism, and economic activities, and so many other developmental related, maybe health and education related factors. Now see the culture, its historical, the traditions, its customs, the culture of the city, the architecture, art, how they are contributing to these different categories. So the moment you divide these kind of abstract questions into different categories, you will be able to think of very good answer. Like you will easily think of 3 to 4 broad dimensions. So you won't end up giving by a random fact or an example.